The meeting of Education Innovation Policy will come to order. It is March 20th, the day before spring. We do not have a quorum yet, but members, if this meeting is prolonged, we will reconvene at 7 p.m. in Capitol 120, not till 7 p.m. in 120. So for testifiers in the audience who may not get a chance to testify today, you would need to return at 7 p.m. tonight in Capitol 120, which is in the far eastern side of the first floor, 120. Members, today we are walking through the policy bill, and I'm just waiting for one more member so we can have quorum. So take a time, members, to be looking through the proposal in case when we get to each article, you will ask your questions, I think, after each article, after Ms. Para has done the walkthrough. So we have Pages joining us. We can take time to introduce them. Pages, just keep standing and say your name and your school. We aren't officially in order yet, but we still love to have you attend. So let's start here at the end. Say your name and your school nice and loud.
I'm Nima Hashi. I'm from St. Anthony Village High School. I'm Emma Wagner. I'm also from St. Anthony Village. I'm Abby Fitzgibbons, and I'm from Bethany Academy.
I'm Christian Elmer, and I'm from Moorhead High School.
I'm Six Sabaras, and I'm from Pipestone.
I'm Gabe McHenry, and I go to Frank.
I'm Mallory McCarthy, and I go to Maple River High School.
I'm Drew Adamek, I go to Bethany Academy.
I'm Lucy Case, and I go to Deer River High School.
Very good. Thank you for joining us. And please be seated. And what you're going to experience is what's called a walkthrough. In other words, it's a kind of a summary of the policy bill that now has been posted and will be adopted on Thursday as the official 3315 after it has been amended. Members, the meeting can officially come to order now. We have quorum, and the clerk will note the roll. And Representative Jessup, I know you just arrived, but would you quickly look through the minutes to approve the minutes from March 15?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the minutes.
Representative Jessup moves approval of the minutes from March 15, 2018. Is there any discussion, any corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion prevails, and the minutes are approved for March 18.
Madam Chair, just one quick note.
Representative Grossel.
The young lady that announced that she is from Deer River, that's my hometown where I grew up.
Oh, how nice. Will the Deer River young woman stand up?
Yeah.
You have claim to fame now because you have a legislator, Representative Matt Grossel, who was born, you said?
Yep.
Born and raised?
In Deer River, yeah.
Born and raised in Deer River. So what a special day for him and for you. Thank you very much. We could probably go down the row now and find out how we're connected to all the others too. But Pages, it's great to have you, and very good to have you working on the House floor and in committee for us. So members, I will put before us the delete all amendment. It is the DE1 to 3315, and ask Ms. Para to begin the walkthrough. Ms. Para.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Article 1 is the general education, and it has 4 sections. Sections 1 and 2 modify the definitions of textbook and individualized instructional or cooperative learning materials to include a teacher's edition or teacher's guide that accompanies the materials. Section 3, about 10 years ago, the aid to districts, the special education litigation aid, was repealed, so this section just simply strikes that reference from the statute. Section 4 eliminates references to payments procedures. Those are obsolete references. Article 2, education excellence. Section 1 requires the initial serving school district to continue to provide transportation services to and from a cooperative program for a homeless student that has an individualized education program who changes serving school districts during the school year. It allows the initial and current serving school district to mutually agree to an alternative transportation arrangement. Section 2, education records. This section requires a school that is transmitting transferring students' educational records to a new school to include information about a pupil withdrawal, which is defined later, and to include information about services the pupil needs to prevent inappropriate behavior. Section 3, legitimate exceptions, allows a student to be excused from school for up to 3 days to participate in any activity necessary to join a branch of the United States Armed Forces. Section 4, required academic standards, has a new paragraph and modifies paragraph D. Paragraph D requires a school district to include child sexual abuse and sexual exploitation prevention instruction in a health curriculum. And it provides some information about what the curriculum has to contain. It allows the school district to consult with other agencies and community-based organizations to identify tools, curricula, and programs. And new paragraph E requires a school district to include instruction in a health curriculum for students in certain grades on substance misuse prevention, including opioids. Next few sections are all amending Section 120B11, which is the World's Best Workforce statute. And Section 5 adds 4 definitions, one for state plan, which is a reference to the state ESSA plan that was approved by the United States Department of Education. There are also definitions of an ineffective teacher, an experienced teacher, and out-of-field teacher. Section 6 modifies performance measures. These are used by a school district to create the world's best workforce, and it modifies these performance measures by adding references to the Minnesota Comprehensive Assessments. Section 7. This is the adopting plans and budgets section. The school board has to adopt the world's best workforce plans, and this section adds statewide goals in reference to the benchmarks that are required in the district's plan. Section 8 is report. Districts have to do world's best workforce reports, and the commissioner has to do a report under new paragraph B that includes school performance reports that have student performance using the performance measures that were modified in the previous section. Section 9, World's Best Workforce Annual Evaluation, requires the commissioner to use the performance measures to identify school districts and school sites not making sufficient progress. So it modifies the 3-year period. It requires the commissioner to review the curricula of all school districts, identified districts the curricula of all identified districts in all subject areas to make sure that the curricula are aligned with state standards. The section also requires identified districts to implement evidence-based strategies and best practices, and modifies the commissioner's report to the legislature by substituting progress toward meeting world's best workforce goals for the district's performance goals. Section 10 requires a school district to screen all students for dyslexia between the beginning of kindergarten and the beginning of 2nd grade, as well as any student who shows characteristics of dyslexia from 2nd grade on. Section 11 modifies Section 120B 122, which was a new section that was added last year, requiring the Department of Education to employ a dyslexia specialist. This section adds a paragraph requiring the dyslexia specialist to provide guidance to school districts and charter schools on accessing screening tools, implementing screening for characteristics of dyslexia, and participating in professional development opportunities on intervention strategies and accommodations for students with dyslexia. Section 12, secondary student personal learning plans, amends the personal learning plan statute to require that plans help students access armed forces career options, require school districts to grant military recruiters and representatives of careers in the skilled trades the same access to students that they do to colleges and employers, and encourages school districts to sponsor an armed forces career opportunity day each fall. Section 13 is a new codifies a new statute on substance misuse prevention, may be cited as Jake's Law, and it encourages school districts to integrate substance misuse prevention instruction into existing programs, curriculum, or school environment. It also cross-references the section a few sections ago that requires districts and charter schools to include this instruction in certain grades in the health curriculum. Section 14, statewide testing, requires the Commissioner of Education to administer the MCAs as late as possible each school year. Currently, students take the MCAs in March, April, or May, and it requires the Commissioner to publish the testing schedule at least 2 years in advance. You'll also see there are 3 paragraphs that are stricken out. That's obsolete language. It relates to students that entered grades 8 or that entered the 8th grade in 2009 or through 2012. So that language is obsolete now. Section 15, statewide and local assessments, clarifies that the MCA student performance data and achievements reports must be available to school districts and teachers within 3 days of the test. That changes on page 22 on lines 10 and 11. Section 16, reporting, requires a school district to disseminate preliminary individual student performance data and achievement reports for the MCAs to a parent and a teacher of a student within 30 days. And it requires the district to notify the parent and teacher that that data is preliminary and still needs to be validated. It also requires a school district to disseminate a testing report to the teacher and parent of each student before the beginning of the following school year, and that testing report has to identify the student's achievement level in each content area and track the student's performance history. Section 17, state growth target. This has several changes. One is that it requires the commissioner to consult with the state demographer to identify student categories used to report student academic achievement and growth. It also eliminates district-wide assessments as indicators of achievement, eliminates the requirement that the commissioner use a value-added growth indicator, and to identify schools as medium and high growth, and requires instead the commissioner to report an academic growth rate, which is defined later on, and modifies the graduation reporting requirements by striking out the reference to 4- and 6-year rates. Section 18 is a new section of law, academic achievement rating system. Subdivision 1 requires the commissioner to develop an academic achievement rating system, assigns for each school and district, gives them a star rating and an academic achievement score based on measures set out to determine the rating. And those ratings have to be reported annually on school performance report. Subdivision 2 includes definitions for academic growth rate, low-income student achievement rate, student of color achievement gap score, 4-year graduation gap score, low-income student proficient, statewide reading test, statewide math test, and student of color. Subdivisions 3 and 4 are the rating components, and Subdivision 3 is for primary schools, Subdivision 4 is secondary schools. These were discussed in, when the bill was heard earlier. Two components were added to each subdivision. One is the English learner proficiency rate as defined in the approved state ESSA plan, and the other is the consistent attendance rate, also as defined in the approved state ESSA plan. Subdivision 5 is district rating components, which requires the commissioner to base district star ratings on the percentage of third grade students rated proficient on the statewide reading test, the low-income student achievement gap score at the district level, the student of color achievement gap score, the percentage of high school students rated proficient on the reading and math test, and the district's four-year graduation rate. Section 19, school performance reports and public reporting, requires the commissioner to report the school academic star and academic achievement ratings and to calculate growth rates as required by ESSA. Section 20 is student progress and other data, and that includes data used to set goals for federal expectations in the category of non-public data until the commissioner publicly releases the data. Section 21 Section 21 adds a definition of non-exclusionary disciplinary policies and practices, and this will be coded within the Pupil Fair Dismissal Act. And it defines non-exclusionary disciplinary policies and practices as policies and practices that require school districts to intervene in, redirect, and support a pupil's behavior before dismissing a pupil from school. It includes several definitions of such practices, including social and emotional services or social work services. And that definition is referenced throughout in some of the following sections. Section 22 adds a definition of pupil withdrawal agreements to the Pupil Fair Dismissal Act. It's defined as a verbal or written agreement between a school or district administrator and a pupil's parent or guardian to withdraw the student from the district to avoid expulsion or exclusion proceedings. And those are limited to 12 months. Section 23 requires a school to use non-exclusionary disciplinary policies and practices before dismissal proceedings or pupil withdrawal agreements. Section 24 requires alternative education services when a pupil is suspended for more than 5 consecutive school days. Section 25, minimum education services, requires school officials to allow a suspended pupil to complete schoolwork during the suspension and receive full academic credit. It also encourages the principal to designate an employee as a liaison to allow a pupil to receive course materials and complete assignments. Section 26, written notice. This is within the exclusion-expulsion procedures statute, and it substitutes non-exclusionary disciplinary policies and practices where before it referenced alternative education services that had to be given to a pupil to avoid the expulsion proceedings. It also references legal assistance resource lists that will be posted on the Department of Education website. Section 27, admission or readmission plan, requires an admission or readmission plan to include measures to improve pupil behavior and parental involvement, and requires the parental involvement in the process. Section 28, student withdrawals, requires school boards to report student withdrawals through the electronic reporting system to the Department of Education and include a statement on non-exclusionary disciplinary policies and practices that were given to the pupil. Section 29, policies to be established, requires districts to adopt policies that include non-exclusionary disciplinary policies and practices to ensure that alternative educational services are provided. Requires districts to review a pupil's schoolwork and grades to ensure the pupil is on track for readmission, and provide them a list of mental health and counseling services. Those pupils that receive mental health services through the district, in the district, remain eligible for those services until they're enrolled in a new district. And it requires, finally, districts to notify parents of how those withdrawal agreements are reported and recorded. Section 30, essential data. This section requires the Professional Educator Licensing and Standards Board, PELSB, to maintain a list of essential data elements that school districts have to provide about licensed and non-licensed staff members. This is a technical change. This was previously done by the Department of Education Licensing Division, and those functions have moved to PELSB. Section 31 eliminates the requirement that a clerk report to the commissioner the district's revenues as expenditures and some other data that is separately reported to the Department of Education by the school district. Section 32, alternative pupil, allows a non-public 10th grade student to take a career and technical education course offered by Minnesota State College or University through the post-secondary enrollment options programs. 10th grade students in school districts can already do this, can already have this option under the statute. Section 33 eliminates some language that became obsolete in 2013 when the graduation incentives program was modified. Section 34 modifies the submission of American Indian Education Parent Advisory Committee's reasons for not concurring with the educational programs for American Indian students offered by the school board or American Indian School. Section 35, the next few sections are in Chapter 124E, which governs charter schools, so these all apply to charter schools. Section 35 eliminates the requirement that an organization that is applying to be an authorizer have to provide an assurance that it is committed to being an authorizer for the full 5-year term. Section 36 accelerates by 1 year the election for an ongoing board of directors and provides that the term of office for that initial ongoing board starts July 1. Section 37, membership criteria, modifies the charter school board of directors membership criteria and requires the board structure to be stated in the school corporation's bylaws. Section 38 modifies the training requirements for charter school board of directors, prohibits an individual from being seated on the board until they've completed certain training. Other training they have 12 months to complete. And there's also some technical changes. Section 39 requires a hearing on non-renewal or termination of a charter school contract to be recorded at the authorizer's expense, and there are preservation requirements for the recording. Section 40, admissions requirements and enrollment. This section makes several changes. One you'll see is that the paragraphs are converted to subdivisions, and so they each have headings now. It adds an agent of a school to the prohibition on charter school distributing services or goods to students and parents, and adds a prohibition on distributing payments or other incentives to students or parents. Modifies the conditions in which a student is no longer considered enrolled in the district. And there's 2 changes to the lottery exceptions that are used when charter schools have to do lotteries. It allows or requires a charter school to give enrollment preference to children currently enrolled in the free preschool or pre-K program. I'm sorry, that was just moved up. That paragraph was moved up. But it provides a preference for students in the city of Nerstrand and Rice County that live within a 5-mile radius of a charter school. And it adds a preference for students within 2 miles of a charter school in Castle Rock Township in Dakota County. Section 41 requires a charter school to document its efforts to disseminate required information in its annual report. Section 42, again, that's that essential data provision, and that eliminates the requirement of the Department of Education maintain that data because Pellsby will now maintain it. Section 43 requires the basic skills annual expenditure report to be reported under the World's Best Workforce statute. Section 44 eliminates obsolete reporting requirements for the Minneapolis School District. Section 45, this again is a result of transferring licensing functions from the Department of Education to Pellsby, so it just eliminates a reference to that licensing division. Section 46 includes solicitation of children to engage in sexual conduct and communication of sexually explicit materials in the definition of sexual abuse. Section 47 modifies the paraprofessional pathway to licensure session law and makes charter schools eligible for grants for non-conventional teacher residency pilot programs. It also replaces a reference to the Board of Teaching with Pellsby. Section 48 is a reviser's instruction, which recodifies sections in intermediate school districts in Chapter 123C, which brings it within the K-12 education code. It's currently in the higher ed chapters. And 49 is the repealer, which repeals section on commissioner reporting best practices in schools that are high-performing under federal expectations. Repeals a requirement that districts develop plans and strategies to improve graduation rates for students with emotional or behavioral disorders. Repeals a section that allows district to request the department to make a payment to a third party. A requirement that school districts report special education litigation costs, and the requirement that the Minneapolis School Board adopt and publish an operating budget and a capital budget for the subsequent year.
Ms. Para, I'll give you a chance to sip your water to refresh yourself. Members and those in the audience, you need to know how hard how much time and what hard work it takes to put together a proposal like this. Ms. Para, for example, who's nonpartisan, has worked countless hours and days to produce this product, meeting with us over the weekend. And of course, my staff, Ms. Peterson and Ms. Windsor and Mr. Withers, we all were here Saturday and Sunday to produce a product like this. So we need to give Ms. Para just a chance to take a breath because we're now on the lesser pages of the proposal. And with that, I think, Graham, are you the only FFA in the audience visiting, or is it a variety of FFAers? Stand up so that we can recognize you. I saw all of you students walk in, and I did notice Graham on the back of one jacket, but can you call out where you're from? Thank you for visiting. This is Education Innovation Policy, and Graham is close to my district. I have closest to you would be Mora and Cambridge. So thank you for being here, and we'll resume then with our walkthrough. Article 3, everyone, on page 55. Ms. Para.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Article 3 is the teacher article, and Section 1 amends the school counselor statute to require that school counselors present and explain armed forces career options and benefits to students and inform parents and students of the military enlistment exam. It allows counselors to consult with the Department of Labor and Industry on resources for students interested in careers in the skilled trades, and prohibits a counselor from interfering with a student's enlistment in the armed forces. Section 2 authorizes school employees who provide career advice to students to satisfy their professional continuing education requirements by attending training in armed forces career options or careers in the skilled trades. And Section 3 replaces a reference to the Board of Teaching with reference to Pellsby. Article 4, special education, establishes a special education working group to review special education delivery and costs. Subdivision 1 goes through the duties, the various issues the group has to examine, including funding and relevant laws. Subdivision 2 lists the members, and paragraph A is a list of organizations, the executive director of which has to appoint or may appoint a representative to serve as a member. And paragraph B requires the Commissioner of Education to solicit applications for membership in the working group, and based on those, designate certain individuals to serve as a member of the working group. Since the last time the bill that had this language was heard in this committee, some organizations were added to paragraph A, including the Schools for Equity in Education, Decoding Dyslexia. And in paragraph B, there are now 2 students receiving special education services and a parent of a student receiving special education services. The rest of that section relates to meetings, compensation, administrative support, and a report. The group has to submit a report with its findings to the legislature by January 15th, 2019. And the legislature that convenes next year is encouraged to convene a study group to review those recommendations, to develop its own recommendations for legislative changes. Article 5, Facilities and Technology. This article adopts requirements for technology providers, school districts, and school districts relating to and charter schools and non-public schools relating to educational data that those technology providers have, and also for student devices.
And Ms. Pear, this places this in the education code. Members, you probably noticed that instead of Chapter 13.
Madam Chair, that's
Ms. Pear.
correct. Yes, so Section 1 is actually amends the charter school chapter, simply saying that the charter school has to comply with those sections that are in Chapter 125B, 27 to 25, that govern the technology providers, school-issued devices, and educational data. Yes, those other sections are all in Chapter 125B, which generally has technology requirements. Section 2 is technology provider requirements, and it imposes new requirements on technology providers and schools that contract with those providers. Technology providers are defined as a person who contracts with a school district to provide technological devices for student use, and who creates, receives, or maintains student data under the contract. These technology providers have to comply with the Minnesota Government Data Practices Act. They do not own the data that they hold under the contract, the educational data. These providers have to comply with the data breach notification law. They have to destroy or return to the school all educational data created, received, or maintained under the contract. And they cannot sell, share, or disseminate educational data except as a part of a valid delegation or assignment of the contract with the school. But they can't use the educational data for any commercial purpose, such as advertising. And Subdivision 3 requires these technology providers to establish written procedures to secure the educational data and allow only authorized individuals to access the data. They also have to maintain a log of use that records information regarding when individuals access student data. Those are generally referred to as audit trails. Section 3 imposes requirements on the school districts. Subdivision 1 requires the district to notify parents and students of the technology provider contracts at the start of the school year, and requires the school district to post the contracts on the district website. Subdivision 2 prohibits a school from penalizing a student who opts out of a technology provider program. Subdivision 3 requires an audit trail, like the one that is required for the technology providers. Subdivision 4 requires the school district to provide training on student privacy laws for new personnel with access to student data, and to provide written training materials for all personnel and independent contractors. Section 4 is school-issued devices, which are defined as any technological device that a school issues to a student for the student's dedicated personal use. It prohibits a government entity, including law enforcement or technology provider, from using a location tracking device, accessing the device's camera or microphone, or monitoring student interaction with a device. And subdivision 3 provides exceptions to that prohibition. For example, if it is done for an educational purpose and the student consents, if it's allowed by a judicial warrant, if the device is missing or stolen, if it's necessary to protect the health or safety of a student, or to investigate compliance with the school's acceptable use policy. Subdivision 4 requires a government entity or technology provider that monitors the device for students' health or safety to provide notice of that to the student or parent unless it would pose a threat to health or safety. And Section 5 makes those provisions apply to non-public K-12 schools. Article 6, nutrition. Section 1, food service contracts, clarifies a cross-reference that allows a contract between a school board and a food service management company that complies with federal regulations governing summer food service programs and the child and adult care food program to be renewed for up to 4 years. Section 2, respectful meals policy, clarifies that a school district may collect unpaid meal debt as long as the reminders do not demean or stigmatize a child participating in the school lunch program and meets other requirements. It prohibits the school district from denying a school lunch to participating students, even if the student has an outstanding meal balance, and requires the district to provide meals to participating students in a respectful manner. Prohibits withdrawing the meal after it's been served, whether or not the student has a meal balance. Article 7, early childhood and family support. Sections 1, 2, and 3, all 3 sections modify early learning scholarships requirements. Section 1 exempts parents or guardians of children who are in protective services or homeless from requirement to provide income verification to qualify for those scholarships. Section 2 extends the time for a child under the age of 3 who receives a scholarship to complete the developmental screening. And Section 3 strikes the provision that allowed a pilot site to qualify for a scholarship before becoming rated through the Quality Rating and Improvement System. And finally, Article 8 clarifies language regarding high school equivalency tests. Last year, the law was amended to allow the commissioner to select more than one high school equivalency test, and each of these sections simply clarifies language relating to that.
Thank you very much, Ms. Perrin. Thank you for the work that you have done to accommodate us in preparing this proposal. Now we'll turn to testimony from those in the audience, and we'll lead off with Commissioner Brenda Casilius. Welcome, Commissioner, to the testifying table. Please say your name for the record and begin.
Madam Chair, committee members, Brenda Casilius, Commissioner of Education. Thank you for having me here to testify on the policy bill, and thank you for your hard work this session on the policy bill. Like the chair said, it is difficult work to hear all of the ideas and then put them together into a meaningful way that is easy to understand and that the public feels heard. So I have just a few comments today. I won't speak to all of the comments that I have on the policy bill, but we'll make some kind of broader highlights on the policy bill where we have some agreement, where we maybe can still do some work, and then a couple of items that I think are somewhat problematic. I do want to thank you, Madam Chair, for carrying most of the governor's language on the proposals. I think that these common sense approaches are going to help us move education forward. The biggest policy item I think that we have to deal with, and the students are here today, is around school safety. And so I appreciate you putting in the governor's language around the Pupil Fair Dismissal Act. However, I do believe that we still need some stronger language around threat assessment upon return for students, and that there is a guarantee that students who are posing a risk to themselves or others do get some sort of follow-up and support. So that those two pieces I'd really appreciate if we could work together and kind of strengthening that language. Also, I'd like to speak to the summative rating system. This is probably the most problematic area given our extensive work with stakeholders and our continued work with stakeholders around reporting and looking at ways to plain language the report, especially to offer reports that are not confusing to parents with two separate different ways to calculate school accountability. We worked over 18 months, 24 months really, with the public, with teachers, with parents, with community and stakeholders, civil rights groups and others around our ESSA plan. And I've heard you compliment it, Madam Chair, and I think that when we do a different rating system than what the stakeholders want and has different measures in it, it becomes highly confusing to parents about which one they should pay attention to. And we've tried a star rating system before, and it was thrown out, and it just didn't work. It's expensive, and I fear that we will have a rating system that won't really give us the information that we actually need to improve schools and improve outcomes for children. And so I would encourage this body to work with us as we work with stakeholders around the issues of reporting to ensure that we can have reports that are meaningful for teachers and also meaningful for our parents as they choose their schools. The governor feels strongly, of course, about teacher quality. He proposed last year in his letters around eliminating the Tier 2 experience pathway to the Tier 3 professional license. He is advocating again for that change, that we look at the preparation. I also have two other preparation issues that are smaller within the policy bill around our counselors and their preparation in terms of their ability to counsel students, and the ILPs language in the bill, good intending to have the ILPs strengthened around what counselors are expected to counsel students on in terms of career and military pathways. However, we don't have enough counselors in our schools to adequately do this. And so I think that next year, hopefully when it comes back to a funding year, we'll be able to really strengthen our school support systems, our counselors, which will then create more welcoming and safe environments for our schools as well. So I wanted to put that on the bucket list of things to discuss. Also, I'd like to talk about lead in the school drinking water. We made some good movement last year requiring testing and a testing cycle. However, there was no notification to parents if lead is found. And I think parents have a right to know if children have lead in their water. So I'm encouraging the committee here to look at transparency in reporting so that school districts would have to actively notify parents, not just have it on a website what the results were. And I'm not really arguing about how much lead is in the water. Whatever the Department of Health says is a safe amount, then that would be the amount that would be acceptable. So I think that we should come to agreement on what the amount of lead that's safe for children to drink, but then school districts, once they do the testing, should have to either remediate and turn that faucet off or fix it. And right now, all they have to do is test. It makes no sense to test for the water and not notify parents or not fix it. We don't want our children drinking lead in their school water. Also, good movement on lunch debt and shaming. I really commend you, Madam Chair, and committee members for taking on this really shameful act of turning away and throwing away students' food. I think people know how much and how passionate I am about this issue. I do want to encourage you to take it just a step further with fees. Some of our schools are not only doing these shameful practices around throwing food out, but they're also restricting kids from athletics, school dances, student council, other activities as well because of school lunch debt. And I just don't think that's right. We know that students' connectedness to school is one of the #1 predictors for them to feel welcome and to do well academically within a school. So why would we shame them further by not allowing them to go to the school dance if they have a school lunch debt? So I certainly hope that the school, you will consider looking at student fees and the lack of opportunities it presents to our poor children. Finally, there's a couple more things. I'd like to also talk about the World's Best Workforce Alignment and ESSA. I think we make a good step there. I think it's really important, and Madam Chair, you know I've talked about the alignment to standards and assessments and the gaps between what's taught and what's tested, and I think this is a really good attempt to get at the curriculum review. However, the agency just is not set up to review 325 school districts and 140 charter schools, and even if we do a needs assessment and do it within the World's Best Workforce for the 20 districts that we might call in, or 40, or whatever the number might be, curriculum reviews are pretty intensive, and we would need additional resources in order to do a really good job that I think you'd like for us to do, Madam Chair. It's not that I'm arguing we shouldn't do it. I'm not certain we have the expertise in terms of our capacity. We certainly have 1 or 2 individuals, or 3 or 4 individuals, but that would be quite the undertaking. The testing changes that are in there for our testing division to do a 2-year testing calendar may interfere with some of our RFP processes when we're in a standards revision year. So I'd just like to put that on the table, that when we're in a standards revision year, sometimes we would then need to go out for a new vendor. So we need to look at that. I appreciate closing the loophole for us to investigate maltreatment to students. Really important for that. I think it's really important that our state growth measures are aligned to ESSA very explicitly, because that specifically is what teachers use in order to gauge students' year-to-year growth. And so they need to know how their students are growing and doing so that they can better improve. And so not having those growth measures aligned, I think, could be problematic. And those, Madam Chair, are my really major concerns and opportunities for us to continue to talk about the bill.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, and be assured we will continue to work on these. The lead in the water, there's not been an agreement reached yet, so even to put a placeholder in the policy bill was not going to work at this time. But otherwise, we'll continue to work with you and staff on trying to reconcile our differences. So thank you very much for coming today and sharing those pros and cons about the policy bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Now, members and audience, we'll start with 5-minute presentations by those who wish to testify, and Ms. Liffey will be holding up the sign when your time is coming close. So we'll begin with a teacher from Minneapolis Public Schools, Abby Finger, and Maria Cisneros from the Latino Youth Development Collaborative. And if Ms. Blas and Ms. Ramos will be ready as well. Member testifiers, very, very limited response to the policy. And we may need to add some chairs. Ms. Finger, please say your name for the record and begin.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Abby Finger. I'm a nationally board certified teacher, and I teach Gems and Guys at Green Central in Minneapolis Public Schools.
And welcome.
Thank you. I'm here today because I know that the current discipline practices in schools could serve students better. I know that some of these practices are harmful to my students and other students in our state. I support the discipline language starting at line 31.25 because it empowers parents and students as well as improves data collection. We must do better in working with students to keep them in our schools through supporting students and restoring relationships instead of pushing them out of our schools, particularly for minor subjective offenses. These provisions are a step in the right direction towards supporting our students. The discipline provisions strengthen important parent notification rights, student rights, and include steps that improve communication between the school, parent, and student. I'm going to share an example that highlights the reasons these provisions are necessary for our students, schools, and communities. We can build sanctuary schools that are thriving thanks to the adults that love and care about each other and their students. I have seen the power of restorative practices work with my student, JB, who learned how to communicate his feelings instead of moving to extreme behaviors. And I've seen positive outcomes for students and staff and schools across the district that are implementing restorative practices. Keeping students in schools, non-exclusionary discipline practices help to hold students accountable for their actions and repair relationships to ensure students learn the impact of their actions so as to not make that same decision again moving forward. These provisions are critical to creating a safe school for students, teachers, and communities. Simply put, if students are in class, they are learning. And if they are out of class, they are not learning. And too often, there is an over-reliance on suspension for less serious, subjective infractions, such as disruption. Suspensions are not an effective deterrent and often make students feel less engaged because we are sending a message that school is not for them. Students do not learn the impact of their behaviors with suspensions and are more likely to repeat them. There are alternatives to suspensions that are effective, such as trauma-informed techniques and restorative practices that more effectively get at the root of the issue. And it can be challenging to utilize non-exclusionary practices as a single classroom teacher. These provisions are a step in the right direction and yet could go so much further in terms of training and support. We need the resources to ensure students have the necessary training and support to utilize non-exclusionary practices on a regular basis. And we need the time for teachers with expertise in utilizing restorative practices to share their craft and skills. I hope that you will ensure the use of non-exclusionary practices by providing funding to help share best practices, meaningful trainings on restorative practices, and trauma techniques to ensure all educators and administrators have the tools to educate students in a safe and supportive community. In summary, the discipline provisions are a positive step in the right direction, and I believe it must go further. Reframing how we think of school discipline is too important to become a buzzword. And my fear is that if some provisions are encouraged and not required, they will join other well-meaning education narratives that didn't fully succeed because they weren't carried through by everyone. And at the end of the day, I believe a majority of educators I know want to be student-centered. And if we support them with the resources, techniques, trainings, and sustainable systems, it will ensure that this desire becomes a reality for our students. This is why I believe these provisions are a necessary step to a more student-centered reality. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee, for allowing me to testify and for including these important provisions.
And thank you, Ms. Finger. And the resources needed will be debated in the Finance Committee. But thank you for bringing that up very much. Ms. Cisneros,
Buenos días, Madam
morning.
Chair y
Welcome.
miembros de la
please say your
casa.
name for the record and begin.
Pues, su nombre, por favor, para el récord.
Mi nombre es María Cisneros.
My name is María Cisneros.
Nuevamente vengo a abogar por el rating de las escuelas.
Again, I'm coming to advocate for the rating of the schools.
Estoy representando al YDC Desarrollo para la Juventud Latina,
I'm representing LYDC, Latin Youth Development Collaborative,
a mi comunidad y familias latinas y de color.
and the community of Latin families and those of color.
Entendemos que ha hecho varios cambios positivos a la propuesta de ley,
We understand that you've made several changes, positive changes to the proposal of law,
incluyendo la información sobre los estudiantes de ELL.
including information about students of ELL.
Esto nos parece muy bien.
This seems very good to us.
Tenemos la confianza de que los resultados académicos
We have the trust that the academic results
de nuestros estudiantes latinos y de color
of our Latin students and those of color
mejorarán con la información que el rating de las escuelas nos puede ofrecer,
will improve with information that the rating of the schools will provide us.
ya que el simple hecho de poder acceder y comprender
Just because of the fact that we can access and understand
cómo está calificada una escuela nos da la oportunidad de aprendizaje
how a school has been rated gives us opportunity of learning
y el desarrollo único de la vida.
and the unique development of life.
Quiero que piensen y que sean conscientes de lo que hacen y lo que pueden hacer.
I would like you to think and to be conscious about what you're doing and what you can do.
No solo será de beneficio para las familias,
It will not only benefit the families,
sino también aumentará el nivel académico en cada escuela.
but will also increase the academic level of every school.
Otra de las cosas, debemos conocer
Another thing we must know
sobre las estadísticas en base de la asistencia,
is the statistics with respect to assistance.
pues muchas de las veces nos informan que nuestros niños tienen bajo rendimiento.
Assistance as in present, sorry, because sometimes they tell us that our kids they have very low
Escolar.
school performance
Debido a que no asisten a la escuela.
because they're not going to school.
Nosotros hemos detectado
We have detected,
que esto de la mayoría de los casos no es de todo cierto.
we've actually determined that this in majority of cases is not true.
Nuestra comunidad se esfuerza día a día
Our community puts a lot of effort day after day
para entender el sistema escolar,
to be able to understand the school system.
pero para esto sigo siendo posible, es necesario
But for this to continue, it's necessary
no limitar el derecho de elegir
not limit the choice of the right to choose
una mejor escuela
a better school
y el derecho a conocer sobre las diferentes opciones a las que éstas ofrecen.
and the right to know the different options that they offer.
Y su decisión y apoyo contribuirá a que nuestros niños tengan más oportunidades en el futuro.
Your decision and support will contribute that our kids have better opportunities in the future.
De ustedes y de todos nosotros depende la vida académica de nuestros niños latinos y de color.
From you and all of us depends the academic life of our Hispanic and other children of color.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Cisneros. That was very well said. Then we have Ms. Blas and Ms. Ramos. And thank you testifiers for adhering to the 5-minute level.
5 minutitos.
Ms. Cisneros finished early.
Ella tomó el-
Gives you more time. Welcome. Please say your name for the record and
Diga su
begin.
nombre para el récord, por favor. Su nombre.
Mi nombre es Isabel Ramos.
My name is Isabel Ramos.
Tengo 3 hijas en las escuelas de Minneapolis.
I have 3 girls in the schools of Minneapolis.
Estamos agradecidos porque nos han escuchado
We're grateful that you guys have listened to us
sobre la necesidad que tenemos en las comunidades
about the necessities and needs that we have in our communities,
de conocer los ratings de las escuelas.
of knowing the ratings of the schools.
A mí personalmente me ha tocado abogar
Personally, I've had to advocate
de muchas formas,
from a lot of different ways.
exigir y ponerme un poco brava,
I've had to demand and actually be a little pushy,
hasta llevar ayudantes para que me escuchen
even bring with me helpers so they will listen
en las escuelas.
at the schools.
He visto cómo han dado prioridad de elegir escuelas
I have seen how they give priority to those that choose schools
a otras personas.
to other people.
Cuando yo pedí una mejor escuela para mi hija,
When I asked for a better school for my daughter,
quien ha demostrado estar lista para una escuela que ofrece un nivel más alto,
my daughter who has demonstrated that she's ready or was prepared to go to higher level school,
la respuesta fue negativa
the response was negative.
y me dijeron que no me correspondía
And they said it didn't correspond to me,
y que era una escuela muy rigurosa y difícil para mi hija.
and that school was very rigorous and difficult for my daughter.
Tuve que hacer muchas llamadas,
Had to make a lot of phone calls,
enviar cartas y faltar a mi trabajo,
send letters, and miss work
hasta que aceptaran a mi hija en la escuela que habíamos elegido.
until they accepted my daughter to the school we'd chosen.
Las familias no tienen el tiempo
The families don't have the time,
ni la información necesaria para hacer las mejores decisiones.
nor do they have the necessary information to make the best decisions for our kids.
No es justo que las escuelas solo tengan altas expectativas
It's not just or fair that the schools have only high expectations
para los estudiantes de las familias que conocen bien el sistema.
to the families of the students or the students of the families that know the system well.
Las que saben bien el idioma
Or those that know the language well,
y a las escuelas tienen miedo de hacer enojar.
and those that the schools are scared to make upset.
Se habla tanto de equidad y justicia racial,
We talk so much about equity and social justice,
pero la verdad,
but in truth,
las reglas y oportunidades
the rules and opportunities,
dependen de las expectativas y el respeto que las escuelas
they depend on the expectations and respect that the schools
tienen para solo un grupo de estudiantes
have for only one group of students,
que ya tienen bastantes privilegios.
students that already have many privileges.
Sé que ustedes nos están apoyando
I know that you guys are supporting us
para que el rating de las escuelas sea una realidad.
for the ratings of school to be a reality.
Sé que entienden la necesidad
I know that you understand the necessity
y el derecho que existe a tener una buena información.
and the right that exists to have a good information.
Les agradezco en nombre de todas las familias que no están presentes.
I would like to thank you in the name of all the families that are not present.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramos. And, you know, we're so happy and pleased that we have parents who are so concerned about their children's education and being able to place their students in a school that works for you. So thank you so much for coming and sharing your testimony. That's really important to us. Ms. Blas, please say your name for the record and
Diga su
begin.
nombre, por favor.
Buenos días, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Mi nombre es Fermina Blas.
My name is Fermina Blas.
Estoy aquí preocupada
I'm here worried
por la situación que las familias estamos pasando.
about the situation the families are going through.
Y es que no es una situación fácil.
It's not an easy situation.
No puedo entender cuál es la excusa
I cannot understand what the excuse is
o el problema en que las familias conozcamos el rating de las escuelas.
or the problem that we have for the families to know the rating of the schools.
Es una tontería que en todos los lugares
It does not make sense in every single place.
tenemos el derecho a la información.
We actually have the right to information.
Por ejemplo, si vamos a la tienda,
For example, if we go to a store
queremos comprar unas galletas,
and we want to buy some cookies,
tenemos opciones.
we have options.
Hay galletas dulces,
There's sweet cookies,
galletas saladas,
salty cookies,
galletas de coco,
coconut cookies,
galletas de chocolate,
chocolate cookies.
galletas de todos sabores y
They're,
colores.
they're different flavors and different
Y es que
colors.
a las personas en esa situación
And people in this situation
contamos con el acceso a la información de los productos.
count with access to the products.
Entonces uno puede escoger
So one then can
lo que
choose
quiere o lo que más le conviene.
what they want or what is most convenient for them.
Entonces también en ese momento
So at that moment,
incluso podemos ver hasta los ingredientes.
we can even see the ingredients,
Y es más,
even more.
si alguien es alérgico a la nuez,
If someone's allergic to
por
nuts,
ejemplo,
for example,
simplemente no compra ese producto
simply you don't buy that product.
y listo.
And then done.
Y ahora has podido acceder a un producto
And now you've been able to have access to a product
acorde a tu gusto
that
y a tus necesidades.
that fit your needs and your tastes.
Pero resulta que cuando una familia quiere elegir una escuela,
But it turns out when you want to choose a school, the family wants to choose a school,
la información no está a la vista.
the information is not visible.
No sabemos casi nunca
We almost never know
las calificaciones de la escuela,
the rating of the schools,
el progreso que han tenido en las clases
the progress that they've had in the class,
y mucho menos
and a lot less,
cómo están las calificaciones de las otras escuelas de la zona.
and how the ratings are of the schools of other zones or areas.
Y cuando uno pide información,
And when we ask for this information,
casi siempre nos dicen
almost always they tell us
que debemos hacer una cita
that we need to make an appointment,
y terminamos hablando con alguien
and we end up talking to someone
que nos habla
that talks to us,
y nos muestra una información enredosa y poco entendible.
that shows us information in a very confusing and not very understandable way.
Y terminamos sin saber
And we end up without knowing
qué nos ofrecen las escuelas
what the school is actually offering
o si son aptas para nuestros hijos.
or if they're apt for our children.
Es urgente que tengamos el acceso claro a la información
It's urgent that we have direct access, clear access to this information
de las escuelas.
of the schools.
Muchas de las familias que estamos pidiendo el acceso a esta información
Many of the families are asking for access to this information.
somos familias
Our families,
que no estamos familiarizados con el sistema,
they're not familiarized with the system,
pero que estamos dispuestos a dar el apoyo a nuestros hijos.
but that we're there and interested in giving support to our children.
Y haremos todo lo posible
And we will do everything that's possible
por ver a nuestros niños
to see our children
graduarse de la high school
graduate from high school
y que tengan éxito en la universidad.
and be successful at the university level.
Pero necesitamos que nos den las herramientas
But for this, we require the tools
para que la elección de las escuelas
for the choice of the schools
sea la más fácil
to be the easiest
y la más conveniente para cada
and the
familia.
most convenient for each family.
Gracias por su atención.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Blas,
Muchas gracias,
and thank you again
Gracias,
to
nuevamente.
you moms who've come today
Más que bienvenido.
to stand up for your children
prepararse y
and for
para sus hijos.
the best school possible for them
Mejor
so they can
colegio.
succeed. Thank you very
Muchas
much.
gracias. Muchísimas gracias.
Members, it's always delightful to have parents testify. Next, we have Jeff Snyder from the Hayfield Education Association and Bailey Bolter from Solutions Not Suspensions. If you two would join us at the testifying table to provide your testimony. Is Ms. Bolter? Yes, here she comes. Welcome, Mr. Snyder. Please say your name for the record and begin.
My name is Jeff Snyder. Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. I am a high school math teacher at Hayfield High School. It's in southeast Minnesota. Thanks for allowing me to speak with you today regarding section HF 3315 and the star ratings for the schools. It's a very important issue, provision for me, I should say, as I am in a rural school district, a smaller school district that has a low SES as a district of 30%. That's the low-income families of 30%. And that's just in the district. And knowing that multiple families don't take it, our rate has exceeded 40% several times in the past decade with that. So one of my big concerns with this section is the fact that decisions regarding the ratings of each student can have a dramatic impact on public perception and pride amongst the students, the school, and the community. There are a lot of great schools in Minnesota with staffs that work very hard to make sure that every student does have success. But not all school districts and not all situations are created equal. Every student in every district has their own story and their own level of success. Putting our students next to another district and comparing them apple to apple can put an unfair label and stigma on our students, our community, and our school district. It's that really what we want to do, label our youth before they even have a chance to go out and into the real world and make names for themselves. I have several students that have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning just to get their chores done on their farms or around, help take care of their brothers and sisters as well before they even come to school. Should we compare those students to other students who have families with the financial means that allow them to solely focus on their education? I have concerns with that. Lastly, in education, we want to dream about making any decision on one data point, one test, or one single item of data. Why would the state consider basing a rating off of one data point? I teach statistics, and my students would laugh at me if I showed them a study that based things off of a single data point, especially an MCA test that isn't given to each student in each grade in all subject areas annually. Okay, so I know that there's a lot of tough decisions and a lot of things that have to be made with regards to this, but please be mindful. Please be mindful as you are considering this provision, and remember that tying these star ratings to such a small sample set does not necessarily validate the data. Thank you for your time. and you're focused on education of each individual student.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder, and thank you for teaching, especially for teaching math. We're very proud of our math standards. I should say, I'm very proud of our math standards. So I know you have a real challenge. As you know, those were mostly created by University of Minnesota.
Yes.
So Minnesota has very robust math standards, which I know you have learned.
Well, they do, and we work very hard to achieve those,
I'm
and
sure you
we're
do.
doing good things.
How do your students respond to them?
Students have responded pretty well. Our scores have significantly increased in the last few years, and we just continue to focus on those and keep working on accomplishing higher achievement. So.
Yes, and thank you. And as I have spoken to math teachers at the high school level like you teach, they're intrigued by ways and strategies to use to teach those standards. And I've heard nothing but good things about what they're doing to the students because it's kind of exciting them. And that's great in math. We want that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder, and thank you for taking time to be with us. Ms. Bolter from Solutions Not Suspensions, welcome. Say your name and begin.
Hi, thank you. Chair Erickson and members of the committee. My name is Bailey Belter, and I'm on staff with the local Solutions Not Suspensions Coalition. Solutions Not Suspensions, or SNS for short, is a statewide coalition of students, families, community members, and organizations committing to changing policies, practices, and mindsets in order to end racial disparities in discipline and foster a positive school climate for all students. We like that House File 3315 includes requiring schools to use non-exclusionary discipline policies before dismissing students. Our coalition believes strongly in using restorative practices, which can not only repair harm on relationships, but also keep students in school and the climate dignifying. We know the state of Minnesota has some of the most glaring racial disparities around education, and that using a way of being, like restorative practices, can only help. This is a small step forward to ensuring students are engaged in learning, and educators and families are given the tools they need to succeed. We would also love to include the provision on providing parent notification, the parent notification requirement for dismissals, arrests, seclusions, as well as allowing students not to self-incriminate. This version is being considered in the Senate Education Bill right now. In conversations with many parents from all around the state and hearing from Senator Pratt, it is imperative for schools and families to be on the same page when it comes to communication of their child's well-being and education. We ask for this provision to be included in the House version of the bill as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Bolter. Now we'll have a Mark Deal from Little Falls. He's a technology coordinator, and Jessica Webster from Legal Aid. You would both come forward. Welcome, Mr. Deal.
Thank you.
Please say your name for the record and begin. And please reference this section of the bill if you have specific remarks
Sure.
to make.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Mark Deal. I am the Director of Information and Technology Services for Little Falls Schools. And I'm here this morning to talk specifically about some parts of Article 5 dealing with the facilities and technology. It's no doubt that as technology professionals and as educators, we take data privacy seriously. And I think we have a common agreement that that is an important task for us to accomplish. However, I do have some concerns about portions of this bill, specifically around auditing, the opt-out provision, and the training. Let me talk about the auditing for a second. It's not hard for us to generate logs of data that address what changes have been made. The challenge that comes before us and what's asked of us in this bill is how do we address if data is looked at? You can have multiple points of data on a screen. Let's just take, for example, a teacher going into their grade book to look and access students' information from a parent request about an assignment. Well, in that electronic grade book, a teacher has 25 students, let's say, for example. How are we to audit that, what data was looked at? Are we going to have to report that are we going to have an audit that says, well, this student's data was looked at, even though child A was the child that we were looking for, the teacher's looking for information on, yet child C's class assignment grade is also listed there as well, but wasn't the focus of the data. And it becomes a really tricky problem for us to try to address which data points that are on a specific screen are really being looked at. And so we would like to challenge you to, I would like to challenge you to consider removing anything that deals with reading of the data. I'm not sure how we could feasibly even make that happen. I'm not sure that our vendors that we contract with for these systems could provide that as well. Let me talk about the opt-out for a second. Opt-ins, opt-outs become really challenging. The way that the bill is currently written, it does not address whether or not this is specific to instructional only resources, or does this also include administrative type resources? So let's take, for example, a student information system. If a parent has the right to opt out of a student information system, what are the unintended consequences of that? Well, I'm not sure that Commissioner Casilius would appreciate getting a stack of papers from a district for Mars information on students because we can't report them automatically from within a student information system. Those are challenges. How do we schedule busing? How do we schedule food service? How do we have students make food service payments? How do we report that time back out? And lastly, there's I just want you to understand that the training aspect of this portion really is going to require us to have a cost. It's a cost of, there's a financial cost, but there's also the cost of time. And what do we put our priorities to as a district in terms of all of the other initiatives that we have going on? So with that, Madam Chair, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Deal. Those were very important points of interest for you to express to us because we are, looking at this very carefully. The opt-out request, as I'm reading it in subdivision 2 under section 3, lines 6126 and 6127, is permissive. Do you think most districts would choose to have an opt-out in their contract? Mr. Deal?
I don't think districts would want to choose to have an opt-out. I think that becomes problematic for us to track, whether it's on an administrative type system or an instructional system. It creates another level of challenge for the teacher if it's on the instructional side in terms of trying to provide other resources. It creates a whole level of time expectations on the administrative side for how do we deal with all these paper copies. So I don't think we would want to have opt-out in there at all.
Thank you, Mr. Deal. And under training, line 62.18 and what follows, are the staff of Little Falls District educated on what FERPA is? Mr. Deal?
Are we educating them? Yes, we educate our staff on what FERPA is.
So that training is taking place?
It does happen, yes. Now, I noticed that in the bill, it requires that to happen within 30 days of hire.
Yes.
That becomes a bit of a challenge. We've recently in our district hired for next school year a teacher who is coming to us from the Des Moines area. Well, she's signed her contract. At what point is the date of hire? Is it the date that she signed her contract? That's going to be really challenging for us. Are we to send somebody to Des Moines to offer her this training within 30 days? So we do the training, but there are some provisions in here that would make things challenging, but it does take time. It takes time to pull that off, and it takes away from other things.
And Mr. Deal, one final question on subdivision 3 under procedures, which you call the audit trail.
Yep.
So, I used to keep my grade system, of course, in our software program. So now this is suggesting that if I'm in the grade program for my English students, that I'm going to have to indicate when I try to access each student's grade reporting. Would it be that extensive, or is it broader than that, Mr. Deal?
The way I interpret the language is that it has to be reported to a parent. If a parent requests, it has to be reported that educational record was viewed. So if you have 25 kids in your class, and if in our student information system grading scheme, all those students are listed there in the class, am I looking at student A, B, and C? Or if I'm only looking for information about student A, do I still have to report about the other 24 students? The way I interpret this language is that we would have to report on all 24 of those other students.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Yep.
Deal. Very insightful comments on this proposal. Welcome to the, and thank you, Mr. Deal, for making the trip from Little Falls. I know that takes a little bit of time. Thank you, Ms. Webster, for joining us again today. Please say your name and begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. My name is Jessica Webster. I'm a staff attorney with Legal Aid, and I just wanted to provide some brief comments on Article 6, the nutrition article. I wanted to thank the chair and members for tackling this lunch shaming issue. I know it's not easy. I know our districts are experiencing unpaid meal debt, and I know that our districts are using some lunch shaming policies and practices that they don't want necessarily to be using, but feel they need to use. So I appreciate you tackling this issue. This language, it's not as far as I wanted it to go. That's usually the case, but I think I appreciate Commissioner Castillo's strong voice on this too. And she mentioned going further with student fees, school dances, student councils activities. That's not something that I have advocated this session. I appreciate her concern on that issue. I have some much more basic protections that I would appreciate this committee still considering, and it's just two. And it's one, ensuring that children can participate in graduation ceremonies. I sent 2 written policies to the department on Friday from Floodwood and Kelleher that don't allow children with meal debts to participate in graduation events. So that would be one ask. And I'm not talking about parties. I'm talking about graduation and rehearsal for graduation. The second would be not allowing districts or schools to punish a child who has a meal that is attempting to purchase food. So that is a policy we saw at Battle Lake, where a child with a meal debt it's a policy that allows a school to issue detention or suspension for a child that attempts to purchase food. So those are, if there could be one more sentence, 2 very basic protections for graduation and a limit on punishment, I would really appreciate consideration of those 2. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Webster. And I know Representative Juergens is still working on language, but we wanted to put this in so we had a starting point for the school lunch part. So thank you very much. And thank you, both of you, again. Sue Abderholden, will you come forward, please? And Josh Crossan. Welcome to the committee, and please say your name for the record and to begin. And Ms. Abderholden, we'll begin with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. Sue Abderholden, Executive Director of NAMI, Minnesota, and thank you for the opportunity to testify. I just had a couple of comments on page 7 and 15, where you talk about substance use disorder education. I'm wanting to make sure that the kind of education efforts and curriculum actually are somewhat research-based, because there are a lot of people that go out there and kind of talk about it, and you want to make sure that there's, some research behind it. On page 31, line .29, You have in there social and emotional services, but I think you actually want that to mean social and emotional learning. And social emotional learning curriculum, that's actually, again, more research-based. And in that same...
Ms. Abderholden,
Yes, sorry.
would you hold on a second? Because Ms. Para wants to reference this since she helps us make these changes. So on line 31.29, you're saying it should be social and emotional learning services?
Learning.
Just learning.
Or learning curriculum, yes.
Thank you.
And then on line 35.14, there's a couple of times in this kind of section where you talk about school linked, which is actually the correct statutory reference, but then in another place you call it school based, and just wanting to make sure that you're referencing the grant
linked.
program, so it's school linked.
Thank you very much.
Also, on 35.17, it talks about the school district providing to the pupil's parent or guardian a list of mental health services available after expulsion, and it has to be posted on the district's website. I just want to say this is a really difficult thing for anyone to do. What a family needs to do is first find out who is in their insurance network, which can also be very limited. You don't want to refer someone to a provider who's not in their network, and then they're going to have to pay 100% out of pocket or a much higher percentage out of pocket. So I think it might be easier, rather than listing that services, you could list the community mental health provider in the community that has to do sliding fee, or you could hook them up, for example, with the school social worker or the school-linked mental health provider to find someone who can be in their network. But just listing that and keeping it up to date, I think would be kind of a logistical nightmare. Appreciate the thought on that, but I think it would be very difficult for school districts to do.
I think that's an excellent suggestion. Thank you.
And then moving on to 57.4, which is the special education work group. There is the sentence about comparing relevant state and federal special education laws and regulations, which, as you know, we've had numerous reports on that. So perhaps just including the reports on that so that you're not doing that whole activity all over again. And then I would also just recommend on 57.8, the clause 4, it says identify strategies or programs that would be effective in reducing the need for special ed services. And I would suggest actually also adding more intensive special education services, because sometimes a student may continue to need special ed, but perhaps you can work on having it not be quite as intensive, which would also bring down the costs, which I thought might also be helpful. I see that you're repealing 120B.35 subdivision 5, which was language that I had worked on way too many years ago. And just wanted to point out that we still have a lot of students in the EBD category who actually don't graduate. And I realize this was never really implemented, and so I understand why you would eliminate it. But just as a reminder that those are the students that we have a very high dropout rate. And then lastly, because there's been a lot of talk about the need to really look into threat assessments and things like that, there's been kind of two phrases that have been used. One is threat to others, and one is threat to self. And I really want to urge you to separate those two things. Threat to self is really about suicidal behavior, students who may be injuring themselves or others. That's a totally different ball of wax. You need to actually make sure that those students are getting referred to the help that they need. It's not a disciplinary issue. It's nothing like that. It's students who are not misbehaving. It's students who have lost hope. And so we just would really like to make sure that we don't lump them in with students who may be a threat to others. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you very much. Those were very much needed comments for clarification, because we miss things and we don't always know about repealers to the extent that some of our testifiers do. So we appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Crossan, welcome. Say your name for the record and begin.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Josh Crossan with Ed Allies. Ed Allies is an education advocacy nonprofit that works to improve our public education system for each and every kid in the state of Minnesota. Madam Chair, I'd like to thank you for presenting what we think is a good bill. Going down the list of the sections that are on our radar, Section 14 around assessments, distribution of assessments, and reporting that data. We appreciate the provisions that require the commissioner publish the test schedule for at least 2 years advance notice. I think the commissioner brought up an interesting point, an important point. In other pieces of law, there are just small provisions that say unless standards change in state and federal law. I think that's an easy addition to add, and I think that would be very welcomed. The individual student performance data must be given to parents and teachers 30 days after the test has been administered, with a preliminary disclaimer. I think this is also a very important provision to include. During testimony on this legislation, we found out that 1/100th of tests need to be modified or altered for validation studies. So I think this gets to the heart of what this legislation is about. We also like the idea of longitudinal data, making sure that students understand how they're growing and learning throughout the years that they're in school. One thing that I would add is clearly defining what as late as possible means. I think we're almost there in terms of negotiating with the department and other school districts, but the OLA recommends a 25-day window. I think we can get there. So thank you. Second issue is really around the accountability, Section 18. I will just say, from my personal experience in education, I was destined to go to a high school that had a 17% high school graduation rate, 17. My parents weren't as intelligent or articulate or aware of their education system as the parents who testified in support of this legislation. My family saw my mom choosing to choose a different option for me as a waste of time, a waste of money, because all schools are created equal. And I think that this section is desperately needed for parents of color, immigrants, and parents who just don't have the wherewithal to understand our education system as thoroughly as we do here today. So this provision requires indicators of proficiency, growth, low-income gap closure, students of color closure, English learner proficiency, and attendance to be all indicators in how we rate and understand how our schools are doing. I think this aligns better to the previous provision, previous law. It aligns better to our ESSA indicators that we created as a state. It also adds gap closure to those indicators, which I think is important. So I appreciate the chair's amendments and responding to the most critical pieces of feedback from those earlier testimonies. Oh, sorry, and it also includes high school graduation rates. I forgot to mention that as well, that indicator. So there are an array of indicators as part of that accountability system, so we appreciate that. And then lastly, as a member of the Solutions Not Suspensions Coalition, I'd love to echo Ms. Belter's testimony and say that we fully support and thank the Madam Chair for including the Department of Education's provisions on using non-exclusionary disciplinary policies, looking at before, during, and after, how can we make sure that students are engaged, that families are engaged and learning in school. One thing that I would just add, like Ms. Balter said, was the provisions in the Senate. It will likely be in the Senate Education Omnibus Bill, but it was heard in the Senate as well, but a parental notification requirement. This is parental notification for any dismissals, arrests, seclusions, just notifying parents when those occur. And then the other issue that I would love to see in this bill would be a provision just to allow students to not self-incriminate, that they can provide their side of the story, but just a provision in law that gives students due process around suspension specifically. So with that, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Crossan. Ms. Clark from Coalition for Children with Disabilities. Members, after Ms. Clark, let's take a few minutes to raise some questions, because we will recess and resume tonight at 7 p.m. in Capitol 120. And as you can see, I've left those who are regularly visiting us to the end. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen, but Ms. Clark, welcome.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, for the record, my name is Sarah Clark. I'm here today on behalf of the Pacer Center and the Coalition for Children with Disabilities, and thank you for having me testify this morning. I thought I'd be seeing you all this evening, but I'm going to go take a midterm tonight. So I want to express our support for a couple of pieces in this bill. The non-exclusionary disciplinary practices have been noted by other testifiers today, I think is a step in the right direction for students with disabilities. Students with disabilities are disproportionately impacted by suspensions, expulsions, and seclusion. And like Josh just mentioned, I hope we can see some parental notification language so that our parents can be more involved in supporting their children through restorative disciplinary practices. Finally, I want to thank the chair and this committee for their approach to the special education working group. I think this conversation is very important and much needed, and I appreciate that the House really values the expertise and the insight of folks who are most directly impacted by this, including advocates, students, and other professionals. So thank you for this bill, and we wanted to share support. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Representative Ward, you had a question, and before, there might be someone in the audience, and maybe it was for the commissioner, but Mr. Oni is here if your question was for MDE. Oh, the commissioner's still here? Oh, I'm sorry, the commissioner's still here. My goodness, she gave up her time to be with us. Representative Ward.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, that it's an important bill, and I'm very grateful, too, that we have so many helpful people to talk to us. My questions, my goodness, I had a few. Just an overall thing, I think that we've made some really good progress with this bill. I do have some concerns. In general, I notice a lot of change in language from shall to must, so a lot of mandates. And I'm assuming that in the Finance Committee, this will be covered because there undoubtedly will be some expenses associated with those. I just wanted to raise that concern. I wanted to comment about the restorative practices being mentioned frequently. That's a huge part of my background, and I have years of work in schools using restorative practices, so I'm just delighted to see it being embedded in the schools. I have a real question about the mental health and counseling, and perhaps Ms. Abderholden, if she's still here, might need to comment. I think you referenced
Ms. Abderholden, if you'll come
being
forward
sure,
again.
thank you. Being sure that there are references made to or referrals made to in-network. What happens when there's no insurance? What happens to the students then?
Ms. Abderholden, will you reintroduce yourself and then respond?
Yes, Madam Chair, members, Sue Abderholden, NAMI, Minnesota. Madam Chair, Representative, if a family doesn't have insurance, then they would actually, through a school-linked mental health project, that's what some of the grant monies are used for, is for students who are uninsured. But then all of the community mental health centers also have to have a sliding fee. And so, again, if you don't have insurance, then they would look at your income and charge you, accordingly.
Representative Ward.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Does this also, sometimes students are involved in discipline or challenges in school, not because of their own mental health, but because of the family's mental health situation. So if a student is called in on a disciplinary issue, and it's really involving parents, family members, a sibling, is that something that the school then would make a referral to, especially if they don't have insurance, to a provider?
Madam Chair, Representative Ward, that would certainly be appropriate. I mean, if you look at kind of trauma-informed practices in schools, it's not, what did you do, but what happened to you. And so a child especially can, having a parent who has a mental illness or even a sibling who has a serious mental illness or substance use disorder can actually impact them. And so therapy and supports and coping strategies being taught to them would be extremely helpful. So they could, in fact, be referred to school-linked mental health if there, frankly, are enough openings, which we know that right now there are not, but also to a community mental health center.
Representative Ward.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a clarification, because you mentioned chemical dependency, those. So a chemical problem could also be referred, but what happens when there is no insurance and there are no facilities available?
Ms. Abderholden.
Madam Chair, Representative Ward, again, community mental health centers and even just community health centers can provide that kind of support for people who don't have insurance and or have low incomes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Ward. Part of the change from shall to must, I will let Ms. Para address after I mentioned that we struggled with the change on page 7 in regard to what we passed last year, Aaron's Law, and this year the proposal that came forward from Girls United about whether they should be mays or musts. And then in light of Representative Kunish-Padin's Jake's Law, which was a must, we decided we'll take, the chair decided, we'll try the must and send it on. And of course, I've already heard about that 2 days in a row. So it may become permissive again. But as I said to school board members yesterday, the 3 provisions, child sexual abuse, sexual exploitation, and substance abuse, are so essential to a health curriculum that I don't understand why we wouldn't feel very strongly about those being incorporated into the health curriculum. And if there's a cost, and I know that Representative Kunish-Padin in Jake's Law has a provision that's in finance, but we'll be addressing that, and so you'll be included in those discussions. But Ms. Para will respond to the shalls to must.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Ward, shall is generally interpreted as must. But as we're going through the statutes and modifying or amending them for different reasons, we're kind of just going through and cleaning that up and making it must for clarity. It's not intended as a substantive change.
Thank you. And members, we can thank former member Phyllis Kahn, as Representative Mariani remembers, for the shall to must. She was adamant about that several years ago, and we began to make those changes. Representative Mariani.
I'm sure I shudder to recall some of the floor debates on shall and must. As much as I loved Representative Kahn, I'm just curious. I know we're about to recess. Can you just lay out for us a little bit about what you expect the committee to accomplish? What are we going to be focusing on this evening? I know that amendments are due, and so I want to make sure that staff has the time to be able to work with members who are going to offer amendments.
Yes, Thursday will be our markup day and sending the bill out. And the deadline for amendments is 3 o'clock Wednesday. So that will be the expectation for the future. As for today, I'd like to hear from as many of you as possible, as well as those in the audience who will return tonight to give us input.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
But please, members, do ask questions. Representative Mayquade, you're on the list next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This question, it could be for you. I wanted to ask the bill author, but I didn't get a chance to, and it has to do with the star rating. So my first question is, I'm on page 28, line 28 point, we'll start with 1.2 through 1.7. So students of color achievement gap score is 100 minus the average of the statewide percentage of white students rated proficient minus the school's percentage of students of color who are rated proficient. And my question is, how does that show a gap in a school? Because if the students of color in that school do better than the statewide average of white students, but they're doing less well than the white students in that school, it wouldn't show a gap. And so I wanted to understand how using that rating would help.
Representative Mayquade, I'm going to ask Jim Bartholomew to come forward because I know that he did work with Representative Peterson on this proposal, and I would ask for his response to this particular paragraph. Welcome, Mr. Bartholomew. Please say your name for the record and begin. And we only have about 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair, members. My name is Jim Bartholomew with the Minnesota Business Partnership. Representative Mayquade, I think the state average for white students was used both because it'll be more stable than the school's population of white students. And I think the flip would also apply that you may have a school where the white students at that school are doing less well than the white students statewide. I think that the statewide white student performance was a more consistently higher bar, if you will, or expectation.
Representative Mayquade.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So explain to me how that would then show a gap, because if you are seeing that students of color in a school are doing as well as white students statewide, but they're not doing as well as the white students in their school, this rating would not tell parents that. Where there is a gap, it wouldn't show that gap.
Mr. Bartholomew.
Madam Chair, members, Representative McQuaid, you're right in the sense that the mechanics are you would look at the students of color performance at that school compared to the white students statewide. And if that school's students of color are doing better, then essentially that school would get a score of 100, the maximum that they could score. And the intent is to show for schools that have gaps, the wider the gap, the lower the score, the less of a gap to no gap, then they would get the full 100.
And Mr. Bartholomew, you'll be with us tonight, so we can continue this discussion. So members, if you would put all of your files back in your folders to help out our pages for tonight, then this meeting stands in recess, and remember, we will reconvene at 7 p.m. in Capitol 120. This meeting stands in recess.